Welcome into HogvilleNET YouTube Hoops. That's the new name. Mine stays the same. It's Kevin McPherson. I'm your host. And look, it's Thursday night. We did a Wednesday. We taped, recorded a Wednesday segment that we put out after midnight on Thursday morning. So early this morning. So I guess technically, since I'm recording this much later on Thursday than I did Wednesday's recording, but we'll release this before midnight. You're going to get two Thursday segments. But the information spaced out for, greater than 24 hours. I know I like to make things clear as mud. I like to say that a lot because this stuff's so much fun, especially this time of year. Because what's going on? We're on the eve of real basketball. Yeah, it's an exhibition game. You can say, well, that's not real. But it's a real opponent. It's somebody different than intra-squad scrimmage playing against yourself. Everybody's wearing a Razorback practice jersey. No, you're going to play a real opponent in Bud Walton Arena Friday night. So tomorrow night, we're now less than 24 hours away from that. Tip-off around 7 p.m. Central Time. That is a big deal. And Arkansas is going to have a big-time visitor. Class of 2026, 5-star, 6'10". I call him a combo forward, 3'4". Baba Alla Dottton. We brought you intel yesterday on the last segment that I did. Again, roughly recorded a day ago, but it came out early this morning. Getting into a source who has come out and called Arkansas effectively the leader, saying Arkansas is the team to beat. The leader now for Baba Oladotun. We'll see if that's true or not. And so that was the intel on last night, early morning segment. If you haven't seen that, go check it out because I'm not going to talk as much about that because I have more intel for you. If you remember, I said I recorded that show early in the evening on Wednesday and had planned to put it out sometime Thursday morning because I might be getting more information later Wednesday night. It might come over late, at which point I would have re-recorded it, done a new recording, and had the updated information along with what I was able to share with you when you saw that segment. If you saw it, if you haven't, go check it out on our HogvilleNET YouTube page. But the rest of the information came in today. And I mentioned on the show, it might be something that pushes into Thursday when I get more information. And so I'm sharing that now. And it is more intel. It's relevant stuff. I recently tweeted within the hour that Baba Oladotun is expected to arrive in Fayetteville tonight, Thursday night. So typically your weekend visitors, they arrive on sometime on Friday, whether it's the morning, the afternoon. Sometimes they get in Friday night. No, Thursday night. Now, what I didn't put, and you'll get this here as part of the intel, is the time that Baba Oladotun is expected to arrive in Northwest Arkansas. He's, after talking again with his dad, his arrival time is 10 p.m. That's the expected arrival time in Northwest Arkansas, 10 p.m. tonight. So he'll be in Fayetteville tonight. I'm sure checking into the hotel and getting ready for his weekend OV. Okay, that's part of it. We mentioned before that the Oladotun and his family will attend the Arkansas-Cincinnati exhibition game tomorrow night. So I'll be at Bud Walton Arena. Be looking forward to spotting him in the facility. Part of the itinerary, and this is more updated intel for you, just so you know what's going on, whether you're going to be able to be at the game or watch it on SEC Network live stream, I believe, where it's going to be available if you can't be in Bud Walton Arena. But either way, he has been invited to be courtside for Arkansas's pregame shoot-around. Of course, he'll be in the building well prior to the game when the team's doing warm-ups. Typically, Ronnie Brewer brings players down to the bench seating area while the team's doing the immediate pregame warm-ups. And then the player is taken up to where his seats are to attend the game. And so all that's part of the works. He will also attend Arkansas's football game on Saturday against Auburn. And I'm also told, because Arkansas has the charity exhibition game tomorrow night, and then pretty quick turnaround to Monday, you go on the road and play Memphis. I wasn't sure what kind of practice that Arkansas will be able to have during this visit inside the Basketball Performance Center. But I'm told that they do plan to have some level of practice. It may not be what they typically do, or maybe it will be, and that Oladotun will attend that as well. So this is all updated information. Some of it we've talked about. You're getting more details about what the itinerary looks like. and what he'll be doing. By the way, even though he's arriving late tonight, doesn't mean he's leaving any time sooner than what most visitors do for a weekend visit. He's departing on Sunday morning. That is standard. That is typical. Sometimes they get out, noon or a little later, but he'll be departing Sunday morning, and that's again. So he's, getting the full the full experience, arriving in Northwest Arkansas again later tonight, in terms of more time in Northwest Arkansas to fall in love with the place, like many of you have. I lived up there for a time, and I liked it up there. Of course, I'm back in the 501 where I belong. All right, so that's Oladotun. I think the biggest thing is, we talked again yesterday, the intel was, it was pretty strong information coming in that this, at least one source think Arkansas leads here. And one of the things I said is, this is a player that you're really trying to get this thing wrapped up, put a bow on it, and get it done early. Because there's talk out there, it's not been very clear in terms of one way or the other. Is he going to get it done in the early period? Baba Oladotun, sign early. That early period is a week long. That's it. November 12th to the 19th. So it's right around the corner, right? Less than a month, 3 weeks, whatever, when it starts. Okay, so there's that. Or wait till the spring. See what teams that are recruiting you, that have prioritized you, who you've kind of narrowed down to, see what they're doing in terms of their rosters and where things stand. Okay, that's valid. And a lot of these high-level 5-star guys, Oladotun, former #1 player in the class of 2027, still a top 10 and 26, rated 5-star. One of the services has him ranked 8th, a couple of others at 10. He's one of those guys that there's going to be a spot for him wherever he wants to be, even if he waits till the spring. Okay, there's that. So with that in mind, what I said yesterday, and I'll repeat it today, Arkansas, it's not enough to be in the lead if you have to wait until the spring. You may maintain that, but the goal here is to make this visit, knock it out of the park, which most of these visits and these OVs have been really strong for Arkansas. The NIL offers have been strong. It's John Calipari, his track record. And then you've got other things that are sort of specific for each individual player. For example, Jordan Smith Jr. and his family having really strong feelings about this Arkansas coaching staff and their relationships beyond even Calipari for a long time. And we've talked about that. It's very similar with Baba Oladotun and how his family and what the perception is of Calipari, the staff, and the fact that Calipari and associate head coach Chen Coleman have been out to Maryland at least 3 times since the early period opened up, and that Calipari's been, and that was in early September, and they were out there the first day, by the way, when they could be, September 3rd, out at Blake High School in Silver Springs, Maryland, that DMV, Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia, that cluster there, Baltimore, Fairfax, Virginia, that area. And so but that Calipari had been recruiting for months Oladotun with the idea that he would reclass. Remember, again, #1 player in 27, reclass in, I think, August after Pete's Jam. It ended in late July. And we'd been talking about that was probably something that was going to happen, but Calipari's been knowing that for a while and recruiting this player as a priority for 26 before it ever became public and clear that would happen. So we've gone through all of that. But then again, we come back to get him done now, or do you have to wait? So here's a little more intel for you. I've seen some reports out there that Oladotun's probably going to wait, or that's kind of the feeling is that he's going to wait. I asked his dad straight up. First time I've asked it. I kind of slow played the question, and this is the answer I got today. They're not sure if it's going to be early or late. And I think that means you're saying there's a chance it could be early. It's also saying there's a chance it could be the spring. But look, this is not as definitive as the talking points that came out of, let's make the Jordan Smith Jr. comparison again from his dad, saying, yeah, this is a spring decision. Then we saw Duke shoehorn in that JSJ unofficial visit after he'd already been there for an official visit. And now you're starting to wonder, does that change the landscape? Is he really going to end up getting it done early? Maybe, maybe not. It's possible. So you can never tell based on what you hear one day what's going to be true the next. This is ambiguous. It's a either or kind of a thing. You're not sure yet. But I think that's, if Arkansas is riding real momentum right now, which I believe the Razorbacks are, that's a really good thing if there's a chance to get it done early. And I think just by that answer, that's what I read from that. All right, 10 minutes in. Thank you for joining me on HogvilleNET Hoops with Kevin McPherson. That's me, your host. And look, I think that I think Arkansas's set up to have a great, another great official visit weekend with a priority prospect, somebody that Calipari has really been, drilled in on for a long period of time. These are not Arkansas's priority targets. Have not been Johnny come lately kind of recruitments. They've been the long haul, long courtship. Arkansas courtside for everything, playing up for 17U Team Durant on the Nike EYBL circuit. And let's go through some things. I've been referring to Oladotun, 16-year-old, as a combo 3-4, maybe a stretch 4 at the college level. When we were on last night, I used the player comp of Kevin Durant. A lot of people try to do that, but 6'11", 6'10", 6'11", with guard skills that can play the wing or a small ball 4. That's what Kevin Durant's done in his NBA career. Another good comparison is one of Durant's teammates now in the NBA with the Houston Rockets, Jabari Smith Jr., who was a star at Auburn. He was a one and done. If you remember, that was a number 1 ranked Auburn team that came into Bud Walton Arena, and Eric Patrick Melsman, EPM's Hogs, upset Auburn, and it went to overtime, and Arkansas held on and won that game. But that was, I think Jabari Smith maybe had a 20 piece that night at BWA. Then he was the top overall pick. But if you look at the arc of his young NBA career so far, at 6'11", he's another player with that perimeter craft, nice dribble setup to get into a 3-point shot, let alone a mid-range shot or get all the way to the rim. And since he's been in the NBA with Houston, he's played both at the 4 spot and the wing spot. Right now, you've got him and Kevin Durant, at least in the game 1 to start the regular season, both in the starting lineup. And, at times they're defending 4s, at times they're defending guards or wings. And that's the kind of versatility that Oladotun, that's sort of the projection for him when you look at the pro level. I think at the college level, he's going to be branded as a forward, not a guard. And I think part of that is he'll probably be on the court with a big man, another wing, and maybe 2 guards, or 3 guards and a big man. And he's a versatile player where if you try to pigeonhole him with just calling him a forward, that doesn't tell the whole story either. I just don't think it's realistic to think he's going to be your 2 when you line up and tip off against teams and at the high major level. Typically players like that, just like Jamari Smith at Auburn, played with a back, with 2 guards and a wing, or 3 guards and a big man. It'll be something similar to that. That's why I refer to him as a combo 3-4 or stretch 4. I did all that explaining to say this player is so versatile. And because of the size, the height at 6'10", as he continues to get stronger and add weight, just because, he reclassed up, just because he's no longer the number 1 player, he might very well be arguably the number 1 pro prospect in how his long-term ceiling projects to the NBA, which could mean, regardless of how many minutes he would play as a true freshman, he's going to be on the court. He's going to play a lot. Regardless of what his scoring averages are and what his impact might be, this is the kind of guy that could be not only a lottery pick, but potentially a top 5 to 10 draft pick just based on what that ceiling looks like because of all of his skill level. If you watch him, he does have guard skill. You saw Wembanyama, the 7'5" big freak out there, crossovers, step backs, a multitude of dribble drive craft to get into a 3-point shot and everything else he does. That is a freaky unicorn. They used to call Kevin Durant a unicorn. Players that are 6'10" or taller that have guard skills, it's fair to say that. Making the comparison again with Oladotun to a guy like Jabari Smith, who's a young pro and not a lock to be a future Hall of Famer, is probably a better comparison to make right now, just because we need to see where it goes with Oladotun. But I do believe whichever school gets him, again, he took a visit to Kentucky last weekend. He's already visited Virginia Tech, Maryland, Georgetown. Those are sort of the home area wheelhouse programs. And again, I have felt like and said for a while that Arkansas will end up being in the driver's seat here if Calipari wants it to go that way and continues to prioritize certainly the OV going down, and we know it is. We reported on Monday that this was going to happen, and they'd definitely be in for that exhibition game tomorrow night. But we've said for a while that we think that's where it's headed, and that Arkansas will have an advantage if Calipari wants to stay in it. And we always pump the brakes, regardless of source information saying Arkansas is the leader or the team to beat or how we feel about it. NIL, at the end of the day, if it gets out of hand in terms of what Arkansas and Calipari are willing to do, you go from being the leader to moving on. He's been consistent that way. So just remember that. If something changes here, it's going to be about the NIL, because I don't think there's anything else that leads Oladotun anywhere, even playing close to home. I think the value in coming to play for Calipari, if the NIL is comparable, even if it's not necessarily number one from Arkansas, if it's close enough, I think everything else weighs in Arkansas's favor, and the Razorbacks get him. Okay, so there's the intel. We gave you a good look at the itinerary for the weekend. We also talking about, is it getting done early? Is it going to be getting done in the spring? And again, there's a lot of voices that say, this is probably a spring decision. The dad told me straight up today, we're not sure yet. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, a recap. As we're just over 16 minutes in. I'm going to wrap this up. We are, by the way, I'm going to do a little brief preview of this exhibition game. I'm going to go ahead and make this a preview segment as well, because I'm going to be very busy tomorrow, including traveling up from the 501 to Fayetteville to cover the game. And then I plan to figure out a way to do a live post-game reaction show. We've got new rules and new setup this year in Bud Walton Arena. We no longer have a working media room. We're no longer allowed on the floor pregame, which we've always been, as media, been able to do. We're kind of relegated to the press box area. And because there's nowhere to run or hide after the game, other than we will be allowed down into the interview room after the game, but our work area upstairs in the arena itself, there'll be a lot of folks in there. And so now we can't do live podcasts any longer like I've done every year the last few years since I've started doing them. We can't do that anywhere in the arena where there's seating, and that includes media. So I'm probably gonna have to find a place in the concourse just outside the seating part and set up there. I'm gonna try to do that. We'll see if it works. I know, a long explanation again, clear as mud. That's just the life of the guy that covers the Arkansas Razorbacks basketball program, whether it's recruiting or the team itself. All right, so all that's on the table, but we'll do, again, a little preview here shortly. I want to finish up with the recruiting reminder. Priority Razorback target, 7-1 center, top 10 national 5-star, the number one big man in the country, Irfan Diane. Big, important weekend visit with Houston. Houston's been the perceived leader. His guardian, Alex Victor, has told me as much, but that Houston has some pretty big questions to answer, things that need to be resolved. It wasn't little stuff. And so, and Arkansas is just right there. I've got one source that thinks it's a coin toss between Arkansas and Houston. My reporting all along has been after the visit and other things that have been happening with Calipari prioritizing Diane for months, that Arkansas is getting closer and closer to a point where there's probably not a lot of gap if Houston's in the lead there, and that Arkansas's got a real chance to win this in the end. I still believe that. Let's see how the Houston visit goes. That's what this is all riding on. Remember, Diane's, the way it's set up now, unless he changes course, he's going to make his announcement on his birthday, November 19th, the final day of the week-long early signing period. And so, that one we'll find out for sure. We're still trying to figure out what is Oladotun going to do. And then you've got Brandon McCoy Jr., who I've said Arkansas for the longest. I've said Arkansas's the leader there. Jordan Smith Jr., Arkansas's, seems like a close second to Duke, but how close? Caleb Holt, there have been times we thought Arkansas's in the lead there and a shot to get him. Some of those, if not all of them, may drag out till the spring. And again, we've talked a lot about those scenarios and possibilities. And what can you get done early, and then what are you still holding out hope for and willing to keep a spot open for? Because I think Calipari is going to try to grow this class to at least 5 if he can. If it sticks at 3 or 4, that's fine too, because he's someone that's done a good job since he's been at Arkansas in retention. And then he'll use the portal as needed. It's been a shallow recruiting effort out of the portal. But, look at year one. The results were what they were. Arkansas, a Sweet 16 team, nearly an Elite 8 team. So what's the formula has been working so far. If he tweaks it to add a few more at the high school level, is that really a big deal? He's had a lot of success in his past doing that as well. It just depends on the other combination of things. and how deep you go with your roster. If you keep it to 8 or 9 and you go and get 5 guys, that's pretty significant amount of true freshmen. You'd wonder, would he then try to get to 10, 9 or 10 instead of 8 or 9 with retention and, again, the portal helping, supplement what you're doing there so that you're not completely out of whack and out of balance and having 17-year-olds play 26-year-olds, as Calipari likes to say. All right, let's preview Arkansas-Cincinnati. This is an exhibition game. This is more about what can you glean about your team going up against live bullets for the first time, really. When it doesn't count in the win-loss record, you can learn from it. I think that's more important than talking about the matchups. I will say that when Cincinnati went on the road a few days ago and upset number 7 Michigan in an exhibition game, they got balanced scoring and a balanced attack. 6 players in double figures. They shot the ball well from 3, 12 of 31, nearly 39%. They had 3 players hit multiple threes out of 6 players who hit at least 1 3. And we talked about the true freshman, Shana Baev. He's a big 6'7", 6'8" wing. We've been talking about him for over a year. He took an official visit to Arkansas during the midweek back in October of last year, so a year ago, if you remember that. It was like it wasn't your typical 2-day official visit. It was like a day and a half, and they had to work it in the midweek because of hurricanes in the Miami-Fort Lauderdale area where he was in high school. So it was one of those things. But, we talked about how offensively his lefty, strong, athletic, ability to get all the way to the rim, to really good court awareness as a passer. You can run offense through him. A tough shooter from 3, just a really good, efficient, effective 3-point shooter. And I always said I was surprised that he was ranked 25 to 30. I thought he was more of a 5-star quality guy and maybe should have been ranked a little higher. All right. Well, he hit 3 threes and had a good game, double-figure scoring game in that road win over Michigan. Kerr Krissa, who's been around the college game, Arizona, Kentucky, 6'5", kind of a combo guard, can be a sniper from 3. He was 4 of 9 from 3. So look out for those 2. They combined for 7 of those 12 3-point makes. Day Thomas, who hit 2 threes. I think he was 2 of 5. He's a 6'1" senior. He's been around for a while, and he's been in Cincinnati's program. So there's some retention in Cincinnati's starting lineup. Baba Miller, the transfer from Florida Atlantic. Previous to that, Florida State, 6'11", versatile. You talk about versatility on the front line. Baba Miller means there are going to be 2 Babas at least in Bud Walton Arena tomorrow night because we got Baba Oladotun in for a visit. Also 6'10", pushing 6'11". Let's not get those guys confused. One of them will be playing for Cincinnati. The other one, you hope, is dreaming about being a Razorback while he's attending that game, amongst other weekend festivities that give Arkansas a great chance to sell him on the program and get it done early, better than late, right? Okay, so Mustafa Tim, a 7'2" transfer from Central Florida, also double figures in this road win over Michigan. Cincinnati built an 18-point lead. At halftime, it ended up holding on to 198 victory. And some of the trouble areas for Michigan: turnovers, rebounding, defending the 3-point line, all things that were problematic for great sections of the season last year for Arkansas, if not most of it. And so those are some of those things you're like, okay, it seemed like Calipari in the offseason, just with the 2 portal transfers, really addressed rebounding prowess, physicality when you look at Nick Pringle, defensive versatility when you look at Nick Pringle, maybe a passing ball handling threat at 6'10" with Malik Ewan, and a big body in his own right. Both of them can be above the rim players. So Arkansas addressed a lot, but now you're going to go up against a team that had success limiting a top 10 ranked team in Michigan in some of the same areas that Arkansas was too often limited last year. So it's a barometer. It's an early barometer on some things. Win or lose, individual player going off, those kinds of players going off, those kinds of things. You cannot bank moving forward that you can count on that. But you're still paying attention to some of these things because you know what you were trying to get better and improve at from last year coming into this season. And it's for the first time you're playing somebody else. Do I expect a packed house at Bud Walton Arena? Very well could be. There's going to be a lot of fans there. Just kind of, again, going back through some things for Arkansas. DJ Wagner, we had Darius Acuff Jr., we had a Zoom presser with him yesterday on Wednesday to talk about this game. And, he said, yeah, they watched film of the Cincinnati-Michigan game, but he was specifically asked about playing with DJ Wagner. We have said for a while we expect both of those both of those guards to start games for Arkansas in that backcourt, yet the majority of the time they've been playing against each other when it's 5-on-5, 4-on-4, 3-on-3, not a whole lot together. When we were down in Hot Springs, the first 20-minute scrimmage out of the 40 total, so two 20-minute scrimmages before they switched things up in between there, DJ and Acuff were on opposite teams. The second go-around, they did play together. And I get a sense that might have been the most extended time they've been on the court together on the same team is that last 20-minute segment, because Acuff said still, for the majority of the time, they go against each other. So I spent a lot of time on that because I really think after what we saw, the struggles Arkansas have with Boogie Fland and DJ Wagner last year, when things got real, all of a sudden you're thinking, well, could that happen again? And you don't know until you start to see it play out. Ironically, in Arkansas's first exhibition game this time last year, number 1 Kansas in Bud Walton Arena, Boogie Fland and DJ Wagner had their best game together. They both went off 20-plus points, really dominated Kansas's backcourt, and had some veteran guys on that backcourt. So that's why I say you can never tell about an exhibition game, yet we're still going to be glued into how do these things look together, at least initially, knowing full well whether it's good or bad. It may not mean a whole lot moving forward. I know it's always clear as mud. We always have disclaimers, and but you don't want to just, make a point without making the counterpoints and reminding everybody exhibition season hasn't been very reliable, especially for Arkansas. Wins over Purdue and then Kansas in back-to-back years. And then we saw how Arkansas, the wheels started coming off for long stretches of both seasons. 2 years ago, that was never corrected in the pit stop. Arkansas finished with a losing record and missed out on the NCAA tournament. Last year, there was a course correction, but well after Arkansas beat Kansas in the exhibition season, and certainly they got Kansas again and made it 2-0, and the second time around it counted, and that was in the NCAA tournament, made it even more sweet or sweeter. All right, some other things I'm paying attention to are the rotations we feel like are pretty thin on the front line, especially behind Trevor Brazile at the 4. How does Calipari navigate that? I suspect that three-headed monster, that big monster between Trevor Brazile, Nick Pringle, Malik Ewan, you're going to see two of those three on the court most of the game, or in games moving forward, whether you truly see that throughout on tomorrow night. With Carter Knox as some small ball 4. Let's see how many small ball lineups Calipari runs with and for how long. Something else we're keeping an eye on. The chemistry between everybody. I mean, not just DJ and Darius Acuff. Malik Thomas, I suspect he may play off the bench initially. Is he someone that comes in and starts knocking down shots, looks comfortable? Is he someone that does what a lot of freshmen do? There's a learning curve there. We don't know yet. And again, whether it's one or the other, you can't necessarily bank that that's how it's going to be moving forward. But it's stuff we pay attention to. Billy Richmond III, I think, he's gotten stronger. I think he has improved his shot. And I think the fact that Carter Knox and he played the same position, I think there's enough versatility between both of them where they can be on the court for stretches together. So I'm interested to see that play out. I'm interested to see, is this a close game? And who does Arkansas turn to close out a half or to close out a game? What does that look like? Who's your go-to guy? I feel like at the end of the day, you got two good options that have the ball in their hands at the end of games in Darius Acuff Jr. and DJ Wagner. I know there was some disappointment late with DJ. I heard it voiced with the way that Texas Tech game ended. I didn't see it that way. And I feel like Arkansas's got two strong options there to play through. And then we see about guys like Malik Ewan, who is offensively a stud in more way than one. I think he's going to help Arkansas stretch the floor from three be the first time in his career to do that. But we've seen a lot of that. I think he's a good passer. I think he's a good ball handler, can bring it up all the way up the court, can handle out on the perimeter. He's one of those guys. I can't wait to see the first time he does a fake DHO, keeps the ball, and just blows by somebody and drives in. He's a guy that can start out on the perimeter and back down from the wing into the low block with his back to the basket. So many things you can do with him. So I think there's some go-to options. Carter Knox, everybody's going to say, why not him? Carter Knox has figured out what the strengths are in his wheelhouse. And as he continues to add nuance and to his dribble drive shot creation, less has been more for him in terms of efficiency and playing off the creativity or the ball movement. And I think you want to see more of that with him really picking his spots, but maybe because he's a year older, because he's stronger, and because he did learn so much and got so much better, it's not that you want him to be a third or fourth option. It's just that you might be able to get it done for him off ball movement first via pass, and then let him do those rip-throughs, drive the basket, and create hell. I mean, that's what Adou did. Adou was not a primary on-ball guy. He was a guy that was getting downhill after the first or second pass, and they set things up for him where he was, free throw line extended, horns area, and he was already making that first step as the ball was coming in for him to receive to get even more of an advantage. And so with Carter Knox, I think is a little better offensively in terms of not only perimeter shooting, but decision-making even than Adou was, who was a third-year player at that point. So Carter Knox could also be a guy that in some way is a go-to at the end of halves or end of games when you need a bucket. But I don't know that he'd be on the ball to initiate that to begin with. And that's kind of the point I'm making here. But I think everybody's improved. Calipari said that. He scheduled a tough schedule because he believes in this team. He, implemented a lot more of the team stuff, the conceptual stuff back in the summer, June and July, than he did a year prior to that when they worked on mostly individual development. A lot of things point to his confidence level. I know he pumped the brakes on that a week or so ago at SEC Media Days and, was talking about debacle in terms of the Hot Spring scrimmage and we don't know enough about our low post game yet. And if you don't have a low post game, you're a fraud. All those things. All right. But we're about to see the first test. The good news is it doesn't count on your regular season schedule unless you win and then you wish it did, right? But I think really, even though we won't be able to take a lot of absolutes out of it, we get to see the team for the first time. This really, what I think has got a potential to be a final weekend Final Four team. Get to see them for the first time against someone other than themselves. And then they can only grow from this, good or bad, win or lose. Take the good, improve, and continue to build on that. Learn from the bad and try to get it corrected. And then the other thing, obviously, is to stay healthy. So we'll see how competitive the game is. We'll see if, but I think the fact that Cincinnati went on the road and beat a good Michigan team gets Arkansas's attention, even though it's just an exhibition game. You got your home crowd, and you don't want to lose this game. You don't want to do that. And so I look for Arkansas to put its best foot forward and have a good game. I think that's what I expect. And I won't give a score prediction, but I do think Arkansas comes out with the dub. That's how I see it. Until tomorrow. So this has been your preview show. It's been your recruiting update with new intel. So tomorrow, the next time you see me, unless something breaks, I need to come on live or something like that. The next time I hope to be on is for a post game. So sometime late tomorrow night from Bud Walton Arena, probably from the concourse. Maybe I'm outside Bud Walton Arena. I'll have to figure it out because the rules have changed and where we can work and where we can be have changed. So we got a lot of back to school, learning how to navigate Bud Walton Arena all of a sudden. Until next time, thanks for being here. Appreciate all of you. Be great in all of your endeavors. We'll see you soon.